Heidi, and I am here with another video. Today I get the awesome pleasure of announcing a book cover reveal that happened today for a very important author to me. I talked about her book, her first book in her series, and that was Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. And this was the one that she sent me 6 signed copies for my classroom, and I actually just started reading it last night. I'm only about 29 pages in, and I'm loving it. I loved it starting page 2. She revealed the cover for her second book in this series today, and I'm excited. She told me that I could do a video to show you the cover, so that's pretty exciting. I also asked her 10 questions about her books, her series, her writing that I get to share with you today too. So let's get started here. This is the first book in the series, and I thought I would share with you just some of the quotes that I thought were funny in this book. So again, just a reminder, this book is about Ember, and in the beginning of the book, like right away, page 1, we find out her dad died, and he was an alcoholic and not very nice, and so she, as a 17-year-old, is going into the foster system, and there's something special about her. She finds out later that she has some powers. I'm not going to reveal too much, but again, I don't know much as I'm on page 29. So let me just read some quotes here to you that I thought were really funny. Each chapter is about a different character, and so the second chapter is about a guy named Mace, and he's actually a vampire, and so he is walking through the streets of New Orleans, and it's Halloween, and so everyone's out kind of partying and walking around, and he's following Ember back from her dad's funeral to her apartment, and so he's kind of looking at everyone walking on, I imagine Duval Street, because that's kind of the touristy area. So he's looking at all the people, and it says, his eyes landed on a group of drunken college guys currently harassing one of the street musicians. Eyes lingering long enough, one of them might mistake his intentions. He glanced at his charge, still wandering through the crowd like a ghost, before looking back at his meal options. He shouldn't, not in this crowd. Really though, would the world even notice one less douchebag in boat shoes and a backwards ball cap? He would be providing a public service. So I thought that was pretty funny, because you just imagine that stereotypical like college frat guy. I thought that was a great description. The next quote was from a boy named Quinn, and he's a reaper, and so he gets a sign, and I won't tell you what that is, but that he's supposed to go collect a soul when it's that time. And so he is right now just being a teenage boy, and he's studying for math and in math class and talking about how he hates math, and he talks about his friend Quinn, and it says, however, Quinn was in smart people math, where they started throwing in hearts and hieroglyphics and alchemical symbols, most of which he was sure they just made up. And I thought that was a great way to describe how teens think about math if they don't like it, because you get the letters in there and then the imaginary numbers. And so he equated that to hieroglyphics and alchemical symbols. I thought that was really funny. And then it also talked about, in that same chapter, him and his twin sister, and Martina described them. They were 2 peas in an emotionally constipated pod. And I thought that was incredibly awesome. It was a really cool way to describe the two. So that's out of her first book, and that's only 17 pages in. So you guys should really check this book out. And now I would like to do the cover reveal for the second book. Da, 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 da. Here it is, cover reveal, and it's beautiful. Look at the green. And it kind of matches that first cover, which is the kind of upside down like world. You see on the new cover that you have the world that's upside down, and then you have the boy. And I told Martina that these would look great together on my shelf, and she actually sent me this picture, which is them together, and they look awesome. So I'm really excited about it. Congratulations to Martina for releasing that today. Let's get into the interview questions that I ended up asking her. I emailed her the questions, and then she emailed the answers back, and I'm hoping that eventually at some point, maybe when the book is released, that we can do a live interview here on YouTube and maybe a giveaway or something, I told her. So we're gonna try and plan something, so keep an eye out for that. So let's start with the interview questions that I asked. The first one was, what is the name of your second book? And as you saw on the cover, the name of the second book is Dark Dreams and Dead Things. So the series is the Dead Things series. When you look that up on Goodreads, hopefully it'll have that. Number 2, when is the release date for your second novel? And she said that she's shooting for May 31st. That is the goal. So obviously that might change, but that's the goal, is for May 31st. Number 3, how many novels do you expect to be in this series? Her answer was that it was originally a trilogy, but it's shaping up to be a 4 or 5 book series with a few spin-offs and maybe some novellas in between. So I think that's awesome that the world is going to continue and her ideas are just continuing to unravel and make this world more than just a trilogy. Number 4. What inspired you for the cover of Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things? That's the first book. I just wanted to know what inspired her to make this cover. And her answer was, Ember is so taken with the dead. The cemetery is her safe space, so I wanted the cover to reflect that she only feels free when she's there. And I just loved the idea of her swinging in the cemetery. It was my brilliant cover designer, Natalia Sue Ellen, who found the picture of the girl swinging from the world, and everything just went from there. So I think that was really symbolic and unique that she decided to take this story and display that in her cover. I know that most people do this, but sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes it's just a pretty cover, whereas this is very symbolic of the story. Number 5, how did that inspiration transfer to the cover of your second novel? And here's the cover of the second novel again. We decided in our planning of book 1 that the novels would all invoke keeping the world inverted, so that top part inverted. We just like the symbolism behind these kids being thrown into this crazy situation, Ember turning all of their lives upside down, and having to deal with knowing that being supernatural is the most normal thing about their lives anymore. So even though their world may be upside down, that's the normalcy of it for them. I think that's wonderful. Number 6, Ember is the protagonist in your novel. Where did she come from? Is she based on anyone in your life? And Martina said, Ember is a little bit of every girl in my family. She is a lot like my daughter in that she has a lot of anxiety. She's like me in that she spends so much time in her head, double and triple guessing every single move. She has red hair like my sister and a gap in her teeth like my niece. She's very precious to me because she's a reflection of my favorite people in the world. I think that's really cool that you have your protagonist based on people who you know, and I think that's what makes a really good protagonist, and that's kind of what my students and I talk about all the time. When you have a protagonist that's based on what you know, the depth of that character ends up being so much deeper. That's a really bad way to describe it, but so much deeper if the author has real life things to pull from. And I think that when authors step outside of that, it's a lot harder for them to develop that character and their own sense of themselves. So I think that's really great. Number 7, is there any symbolism in her name? Her full name is November because of the month she was born, but her magic works like a spark. It's like heat. So there is a bit of symbolism that she goes by Ember. She's also thought to be the spark that is supposed to set in motion a prophecy. And there is my cat Duncan, if you want to see him. Number 8, I said, you are a busy woman being a nurse and a mom. How do you find the time and energy to write? And Martina said, caffeine. Lots and lots of caffeine. I should thank Starbucks in City Place in the acknowledgments in every book I write. I write before work, on my lunch breaks, and until midnight, Monday through Friday. On weekends, I wake up at 8 a.m., go to Starbucks, and write for at least 5 or 6 hours, sometimes all night. It just depends. I mean, this woman's got a lot of energy going on. I think that's really great. And her books, I think, are going to come out fast and furious, which I know us readers love. I know for me, it's really hard to wait for another book to come out, especially if you're so involved in the character and the characters and the worlds, and the last thing you want to do is wait. So I think that's great that she spends so much time writing, and I think these books are going to come out really quickly. Number 9, who is your daughter's favorite character in your novel and why? She said, my daughter's favorite character is a toss-up between Mace and Tristan. Tristan reminds her of herself and her best friend, and she said her surrogate daughter, Jordan. They both say that angry and bitter are their default settings, kind of like Tristan, but she doesn't agree with that. She doesn't think that's their default setting, but that's what they say. They both like Mace because he's snarky and charming and you just want to root for him, even though he's not really a nice guy. And I think that always happens, that everyone has their flaws, and even if he's not a nice guy, the charm sometimes overtakes that. Ladies, you know what I mean. Number 10, what are you most looking forward to in regards to the release of your second novel? She said, I have a lot of anxiety about book 2. I've gotten such positive feedback on book 1, it's sort of terrifying. An awesome problem to have, she knows. But I mean, I can imagine why it would be terrifying if you had a lot of great praise for book 1 and then book 2 comes out and you just don't know how people are going to like it. I'm most looking forward to people getting to see a little of Mace's origin story and Ember possibly being a little more proactive and a little less reactive now that she understands more of how her new world works. So those were the interview questions. I thought that they really kind of opened up insight into the world and into her writing, and I was really excited to be able to ask her those questions. I told my students that I would be videoing this tonight and putting it up, so I hope that they're seeing it. Shout out to all my students if you're watching. Congratulations, Martina, on the cover release. We are excited for your book to come out and can't wait to hear more about it. I hope everyone goes and picks up a copy of Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things by Martina McAtee, is how you say her name. She actually put her ebook up on Amazon until midnight tonight, I believe. And I don't know if that's Floridian time or Eastern time or what, but let's just say midnight Eastern time. So if you are seeing this in Central time, that means you have until 11 o'clock p.m. to go get it. But it is up on Amazon. I'm going to put the link in the description below to not only this book on Goodreads, but the link to her Amazon or the page for this book on Amazon, so you can go download it for free. She is going to be doing a live reading of the book in April, I think she told me, and that's going to be on Instagram and Facebook. So go pick up a copy so you can read the book with her when she does her live reading, and then hopefully her book is going to come out on May 31st. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I will have another video coming out soon. I hope you're excited about this book as I am, and I will see you guys all later. Bye, everyone.